Hey everybody, welcome back to DW's Chop Shop. Today what we're going to do is we're going to finish this sissy bar, and let's talk about how we're going to do that. So what I have here are the parts that we're going to use. And this is all from Prizm Supply, except these, we'll go over that. I got a generic license plate bracket. I'll talk about how we're going to put that on in a second. And these lights are really cool because they're weld in, right? I can pop this little holder out. There we go. That lens comes out, and then I can push this entire LED assembly out and have just a steel case that I can weld into place. Beautiful. And since we need to run power and ground, or at least power and maybe like a brake light, I got some terminal boards, and we can hide these behind the license plate bracket. Should look pretty okay. So I could run one power and then 3 to lights. And I could run, one for my brake lights and 3 wires out to the lights. Okay, so I got this 5/8 tubing also, and that's going to match our outside diameter perfectly right here. I just ordered this off McMaster, but what I think we're going to do is notch this out so we could set the light in just a little bit and weld it in place all the way around, and then that'll leave enough room that I can run wires down it. And so like put light, license plate bracket, and then have those terminal boards behind that. Wires, I'm not sure if I'll run the wires under the fender or under the seat or through the seat. I don't know. We'll figure it out later. But I think that would look really good and just be something to just kind of set this apart. You know what I mean? So, yeah, let's get into it. Let's see what we're going to do. And I'm thinking we might build up from the bottom. Means I'd like this license plate bracket, not quite to sit like that, but to kick out just a little bit. So I might tack weld it here and here, and then make a spacer out of this tubing to fit in through here and weld it in place. And that should hold our license plate bracket pretty good. And I might bring it down low. How low would I want to go with that? Oh, that's not bad. Because I don't ever want it to contact the fender. I want this whole thing to be able to come off as one. And I want it to come off easy enough where I can use these terminal boards on the back. And I can, with just tack welds, I can kind of move this around and push it just about where I want it, which is right there. I might have broke that tack, but that's no biggie. Now I need to know this spacing right here, because I want to put in a little bracket. And I want to know what I need to cut. Do I want to go right there? I think that's where I want to go at. So that's looking like if I cut off a 2-inch chunk of this 5/8 tube and then play with the grinder a little bit, and I can get it to sit in there. Now let's do some double checking on the other side. We should be pretty close, but you never know. Yep, looks like a 2-inch chunk's going to get us there too. So let's cut a 2-inch chunk of tubing. So you can see our plate here. We want to fill that gap. You can see we have our little piece of tubing here, and it doesn't quite fit. So first thing I want to do is we're going to grind this down so it'll fit, and then we'll grind the back side to fit. All right, that's a little hot, but all right, real quick. That fits pretty good. I'm gonna, ow, fuck. Grind on the back just a little bit. Whew. Hot. All right. We'll let this one cool the fuck off, and we'll head over to the other side. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing. We got our plate. I got the angle I like, and I want it to just about match this one, which is still really hot. Okay. Those are very, very similar. Now this one is really fucking hot. But we can see how well that's going to fit. Look at that. Good fit. Right at the bend. Lines up with the other welds. All right. Let's get that tacked in place while this other one cools off. Okay, I can hold it. That's a good start. Does it go about the same spot? All right, this side don't fit just as flush. We got to take a little off the top right here. Right here. That's pretty good. It's lined up pretty well with the other one. All right. License plate bracket attached. Now, let's build some lights. Okay, I'm not real sure just how I want to do this yet. I know I want light, light, light. The last one to end up here just under this bolt. And then the first one I'd like to start low. All right, so another thing I'm finding out is, of course, this is angled. I didn't take that into account, which isn't a big deal, but I might have to make the lights kind of at a step out. Still isn't bad. I mean, right there is the easiest to hide any wires for sure. But then the license plate's in the way. Yeah, I think we're going to need to bump that up. Not much. Not much at all. But we're going to need some tubing. Maybe inch is a little low. Maybe 1.5 inches. And we'll tack that on. Try and keep this the same. And then we'll see what we need to notch the top to get this to sit so it's going to shine straight out. And if you guys look at the back of this, there's going to be 6 wires, and I believe the inside diameter on this is like 0.065 inches. So it shouldn't be any problem running our wiring through here. Where'd I hide my tubing? Here it is. So you kind of see from this angle, right? I could just tack that, but it ain't going to be really like a good weld. So if I put a little notch in here and I can set this down over the top, then I can fill in this back chunk with weld and these 2 sides with weld, and it's going to hold real good. So let's notch that. So I want to match this. And this will give me enough room I can weld on the back. Weld a little bead up front here. And I should still be able to keep a license plate on. Okay. Now, let's make our first light cut. Okay, so our angle's just a little much, but that's part of the fun of tack welds. Because that matches just about perfect. Now, let's see about setting the light in here. Okay. Closer to what I wanted. Yep. But it looks like it's just off that way a tad. And it looks like this tack. There we go. Cool thing about tack welding. I don't think it's too bad. Do you? No? Good. So now, let me measure this distance and we can guesstimate about where we want our second one to go. So we want one more right up here and one more right about here. So if this distance is 13 3/8. Okay, so what we need to do is get this distance, since we're going to have our other one sit just under this, right? Honestly, I could probably just tack weld that motherfucker under there. So there's a lot of dimensions to mess with here, right? We have this angle. We need these lights to be flush and sit flat so that they're not pointing down at the road. I want these to point back at people. So to do that, I'm going to use kind of a straight edge. And like, I'm not really measuring for, what am I trying to call it here? Like, I'm not making sure shit's level. Let me show you what I'm looking at. So when I hold this up here, I'm watching this gap. And then I'm going to hold this one up here. And I want that gap to be just about even. I don't know if I can get a good shot while I do that, but you see what I'm looking for. And that's going to make these all shine at an equal brightness. Okay, so right there is the angle that I want. Okay. So now I know that if I put that there and swing it out, we're going to be just about where I want it. Which means I can come over here and center that up and put a tack weld on it. Okay. So we're kind of in place, but I need to get this twisted. And I don't know how much luck we're going to have at that. Not very much. Well, yeah, I broke that tack again. Okay. That looks pretty even on both sides. So let's check this gap here. Whoa, way off. We need to kick this out, way out. There we go. Now, here's what I'm aiming for. Watch when I put this up here, right? You see I have the light here and the other light here. But when I hold this up to them, this gap in between at the top is about the same, right? That's what I want. Cool. So now we're going to measure our gap between the bottom of this and the top of that. And we could use 12 inches there pretty easily. All right. That'll keep us within, I don't know, 32nd of an inch. I mean, it's close. So that means we should be able to cut 12-inch piece and work off of that. So this is going to be just a nice little like notch on the side here. And we'll do the same on this one here. All right, so there's a little tack weld on that. We're off on a few different ways, but it moves. See, a lot of people think you just melt metal right into place, man. There's actually some fair amount of guesswork. Like, this is obviously off too far this way. That's why we tack welded it. If it breaks, guess what? I'll hack it back in. There you go. It turned out pretty straight. It's a tad back, but I can see I can push that up. So that's not the biggest worry. Oh, let me get our other light ready. Okay, here's our other light body. And we're going to do kind of the same thing that we did here, but down here. And I also want to measure and make sure, we don't need to be exact. Like if we're within, what, a quarter inch, I think we'll be just fine. So here we are, 15 inches overall. And this is coming in at 9, between 7.5 and 9. Okay, so that's making us close to 7.5 there. You little fucker. And about 8 here. So that's not bad. Get it just about where I want it. Give her a tack. And it's kind of cool because you can feel that whole thing while you're holding it, pull forward. That tack splattered a little bit, but I can clean that up. So now we're going to come over here again. We're going to take our straight edge. See how close that was? And I can just push that. And then our gaps are very similar. Cool. Okay, so what are we? Hole to hole, middle hole to middle hole, and then I'll go a 1/4 inch shorter than that. And we'll cut our final piece. So hole to hole, they're just about 7 inches. So if I do a 6 3/8 piece, that'll line us up pretty good. Okay, so that fits pretty good. So let's get it tacked in place. All right, so that's something on what our Sissy bar setup is going to look like. Get out of the light. There we go. And I think that's going to be okay. Our angles are all real close, so these will look normal going down the highway. One's not going to be brighter than the other. Got our license plate. We got places to hide wire. We got places to run wire. And once we get these welded in, I think it's going to be all right. But this video is getting really, really long, so I'm going to have to do a part 2. So part 2, we're going to weld all this stuff up, and we'll run the wiring through it and do all that kind of fun stuff. Anyways, hope this helps somebody.